Hi, Vicky.
Hi guys. How are ya?
Good. How are you?
Good. I hope you guys talk to me today, because this only makes it fun if you talk to me. So if you guys like sit on mute and not have your camera on, then it's really not going to be that fun. I don't know if you've watched the other ones, but it definitely, I like when we have more involvement. So the more vocal you guys are, the more we're all going to get out of this. So sound good. Let's go through and introduce ourselves. Vicky, do you want to start?
Yeah. So I'm Vicky Brook. I'm out of the greater Rochester, living in Pittsford, New York. And I don't know what day I started, but I've been here a couple of months, I think.
Good. Good. Do you have any clients you're working with?
I do. My exciting news, I said earlier today in another workshop, I got a call last night from Toronto, Canada, from a woman who has a sister living here in Rochester. And she asked me to find her a mortgage agent, and she wants to buy a house in Rochester.
That's exciting.
So that was exciting. I wasn't sure. I kind of don't answer the phone a lot, which was a good experience for me, because I realized I better start answering my phone. It's not always going to be a telemarketer. And I don't know, but I'm anxious to find out how she got my number, because this week I did a Facebook page. I also did Yelp, and I've been buying a ton of ads on Facebook. So I like to I'd like to trace it back to see how she got to me.
Yeah.
But everybody else thinks that actually could come to fruition. So I think it's kind of exciting. Even if it doesn't, I think that I learned something by answering the phone.
Good. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Laura Decker, who are you? You're up next.
All right. I am Laura Decker, and I joined, it's been a few months at the Brighton office. And so I feel like it's like I started a new job, but yet I haven't started yet because I'm still trying to kick off. So that being said, I don't have any clients. I'm still working on my business page. I just got my photos done last week, or to me last week. So I'm working on a business card and signs, and my head's spinning with all of that. What should I do?
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, that's where I am.
You're in the right place.
Good.
Philippa, is that how I say your name? Did I say it right?
It's Philippa.
Philippa. Okay.
Yes. But I take no offense. So
People screw my name up all the time too. They're like, Kayla, Katie. Kaylee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Philippa.
So, hi. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah. So I joined KW maybe about 8 or 9 months ago. I work out of the Brighton office. It takes a while to get your engines warmed up and to really know what to focus on first. So this is what we're doing. Yeah. I have a few clients that I'm working with on the buyer side. I have no listing, prospects at all. But it's been hard to, get a deal going. Yesterday, I almost put an offer in and it was already taken. So
Yeah.
in half an hour difference. Yeah. So it's challenging.
Listen, I totally get it. And you guys, I don't know if you've watched the other buyer series, but you'll hear me say fail forward, fail forward, fail forward. And I've failed enough for all of us. So I'll dive into giving you guys like my story and my background and, the struggles that I've had, but I totally get it. And my best piece of advice is like, stay on that path. Like, don't take your foot off the gas pedal. So.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, Megan, I don't know how to say your last name.
I know, no one does. It's okay. It's Veerheil.
Veerheil. Okay, hi.
Hi. So I just joined like a month ago. So I'm just trying to get all my ducks in a row. Basically, I got my business card, so that's good. But yeah, I'm just kind of like doing Ignite, doing this, you know, trying to figure out things. So I'm very new.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get it. Kristen,
Hi, Kaylee.
hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I feel like we've met before. Did we meet in the office once?
Yeah, I went to the panel, the graduation panel they had just, so I spoke with you then.
Yes, okay, you look familiar. Okay, hi, nice to see you again.
So I joined in January. I've had one listing.
That's great.
Yep, sold for 35 over asking, so I was excited. I'm sure that's not hard in this market, but super excited, and that really helped me learn the process of everything. But so right now I'm working on social media and learning the ins and outs of Facebook and Instagram. I posted my first home improvement tip on Instagram yesterday. And I ordered some signs to put out front of houses. They're not the typical realtor signs. So some kind of catchy phrases and putting those out front of a couple places for lead gen.
Cool, cool. I know we've all had to get very, very creative in this weird market. So
But I have to say, this
like,
is probably my third time listening to your course. A couple were on playback,
okay,
and Karen's as well, the second part. But it's just so great that I needed to listen to it again.
yeah, I keep seeing the same faces take it a few times over and over, and I think that's so great. And you were at the panel, but they said at the panel, like, picking up something different every single time, you know. I kind of follow the same template, but it's always different, you know, depending on who's in the class, who asks what questions, what kind of mood I'm in, you know, if I'm in a weird mood or a fun mood, I don't know, you know. So yeah, so hopefully you guys, if you have watched it before, you'll get something else out of it today. So okay, Erin's iPhone. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? I didn't know that was my name until I saw it on there. I'll have to figure out how to fix that. I guess I'm probably the newest person on here, considering I joined today, like
Awesome. Oh, that's
9
great.
o'clock this morning. So
I was gonna make a joke and say you joined like 3 hours ago, but that actually
yeah,
happened.
no, that's actually true. I met with Kim and we got everything signed and set up this morning. So yeah, she was like, "Can you hop on this call from 1 to 3 today?" And I was like, "I can, but I will put you on camera at like 2 o'clock because I have to go run to pick up my kid from school, but I'm just gonna stay on and listen. So if I'm quiet, I'll be back in like 25 minutes."
That's okay.
But yeah, so I've done nothing. It's a lot of information all at once. It was like 4 weeks of waiting just to find out if I got my tests, if I passed, and it was just a long time, it seems. So now I actually have to do everything. And so yeah, I'm gonna go get pictures taken Thursday morning, and I have a bunch of other stuff lined up as far as classes and stuff that I can do, until I go in and meet with someone in the office. But yeah, I'm just getting started. So yeah, happy to be here though.
Good, good.
Welcome.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dana Mae, you're the last one. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll get started? Oh, you're muted. Oh, I don't know if she knows she's muted. Can I unmute people? I don't even know how to do that.
Oh, I can do it.
There you go.
So Dana Mae, I joined May 4th. So I've been doing all of the, Ignite, whatever, different series. I did this one, I guess I did this one live last month when it ran. I just figured I'd, jump on again, trying to kind of see everything I can see. And yeah, I haven't had a buyer or a seller yet. Vicky and I did an open house 2 weekends ago together. Yeah, I'm just trying to, like everyone else says, you know, get all your ducks in a row, kind of figure out your thing, get used to it. I mean, there's so much information, so much stuff to absorb and figure out. And I was just talking to Bev today about like trying to get into time blocking more and hold each other accountable and, you know, get going on all of that. Cause I think I find that there's so much stuff swirling around in my head and so many different things attracting my attention that I need to figure out how to prioritize, you know, what's the most important, which I obviously know already is lead gen, but, you know, really just getting it organized and doing it and following up and not getting in my own way.
Yeah, 100%. I will say, like, time blocking is, if you guys are not doing it, definitely get on that time blocking train. Get yourself a planner. I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys use your phones or something electronic. Totally cool. I'm like a dinosaur. I'm tech stupid, so I gotta have a paper pen or paper pencil actually, with, you know, all the times in the day written down. And I'm like time blocked to clean. I'm time blocked to like do my hair and get ready, because I know that I only have this amount of time. Also, like, I'm not the kind of person that can focus really well for an extended period of time. So if I see that I have like 3 hours open, like I can tell you 1000% I'm not working. Like, so it has to be written down for me to do it. So definitely time blocking. The other thing I'm going to say, and I can't even believe I'm saying it because now I've become one of those annoying people, but when I got in the business, I was like, well, I gotta get my business cards and those gotta be perfect. And then I gotta make my buyer packet and that has to be perfect. And then I have to do my checklist and that has to be perfect. And really, it's gonna take me some time to get all that stuff perfect. So I can't call anybody yet. And that's probably the biggest mistake that anybody could make. You got to just get in and just start doing it. And I know the feeling, trust me, I know the feeling of like, dude, I don't know anything. Like, I just took the test and they tell you that lead paint was in a house before 1978. That's about all that I know, okay? So I don't know how to write a contract. I don't even know how to call people. What do I say, right? You just got to do it. You just got to do it. And I totally get it. And I hate to be this lady on this side of the screen being like, just do it. Because if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, yeah, go fly a kite. Like, you don't get how hard it is. But I do. And when I started in the business, I got licensed in 2015. I was still full-time at my other job, my other career at the time. And I used every excuse in the book to not do anything. And let me think, my first day at KW was August 1st, and I didn't sell a house till like Christmas Day. And actually, I've never told anybody this before, like on this class. So other people that know me know this, but you guys will be the first class to hear this. My first client was some guy that I met on Match.com like years ago. Like, totally like just was like, hey, I got to move back to the area. You're in real estate. Can you help me? And I was like, sure. Like, we never even went on a date, but whatever. And I'll get to that story later. You'll find out where he falls in my list of failures going forward. But yeah, so you never know where something's gonna come up, you know, so you gotta roll with it. But yeah, so I've been with KW since 2015. So I spent the first part of my real estate career, you know, kind of not doing much of anything. And then I started to do some business, and then it crept into the beginning of 2016, and I got about halfway through 2016, and I was like, you know what? I'm not able to leverage my time the same way some of these other full-time agents are, right? So when I came in, I would say like my class that I came in with. So the people that I was in coaching with, they were like, you know, full-time, they had spouses that could help them. They had parents that could help them. And like, I didn't have any of that. So I kind of threw myself a pity party. So it took me 18 months to get out of that. And then I decided, okay, how am I going to leverage my time? So I made the decision to join a team. And I spent 3 years as the buyer's agent on one of the top teams in our office. Had a wonderful time, learned so much. It was absolutely fantastic. And I totally credit like that time in my life is why I'm sitting in this chair teaching this class right now. And then I went off on my own in December of 19. And then we all know what happened 4 months later, 3 months later. So I kind of crapped my pants like everybody else. But, you know, it all works out. So anyways, going back to, you know, my time on the team and, you know, even at this point in my career, I'm becoming more balanced between buyers and sellers, but I still am buyer heavy if you went through and looked at my list of transactions. So my experience with working with buyers, I feel is pretty extensive. Outside of that, our market in Rochester really started to get competitive for buyers, I would say, you know, late 2016. At least that's when I wrote my first competing offer. And I was like, wait, I'm competing? Like, this is, nobody told me how to do this, right? And I remember like winning an offer by $1,000, like what I wouldn't give to win an offer by $1,000 now, you know, like $1,000 over asking, right? Not $1,000 on an escalation clause. So, but yeah, so having all those years where I'm just writing competitive offer after competitive offer, I would say probably 2/3 to 3/4 of all of my buy side of my business has been competing offers. So really just learning how to strategize and nail down that process. And then looking back at my listings since I've gone on my own, again, like being in this heavy sellers market, all of my listings have been competitive. And I've only had a few that didn't sell for asking or over asking in the last few years. But they were still competitive. So again, just learning to navigate that process there. I'm going to give you guys a list of qualifying questions. In the past, I have done some role play. I don't know if if you guys have watched the other sessions, people sometimes give me really weird stuff and I'm like, we're not ready to go that route. So I'm just going to give you some qualifying questions to go through with a buyer. Things that you should be asking them if you guys want to write them down as I'm talking. If you want to have conversation about it, we can dive into anything deeper here. But when you are speaking with somebody, you know, most of my business has been referral. I've been very, very lucky. When I do talk to people that I've never met, like a super cold lead, it's at an open house, okay? But the conversation generally looks the same. Vicki, this will be a good thing for you to pay attention to, especially because this person that you just connected with came from somebody else, right? So if you guys do have a referral, definitely ask them, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reached out. How did you hear about me? You know, did somebody refer you? You know, whatever, just try to get to the bottom of it. And then because you want to go back and you want to thank that person too, you know, you want to know like, what am I doing and did it work, right? So if it's a referral from somebody else, like, you know, you did a good job with them and now they just referred you somebody, go love on them, go spend time with them, go celebrate them, you know, whatever you do that works for you. But praise that behavior because you want it to continue, right? And then, you know, like Vicki, you mentioned you had run a Facebook ad. I know social media is really big right now. Kristen, you talked about some signage being in different locations, you know, like always ask them like, how did you hear about me? You know, because you got to know if what you're doing works. Okay. So, you know, if you get all these phone calls from a Facebook ad you ran, guess what? Figure out how to do it again. Okay, same thing. Like if those signs, if they knock it out of the park, good, do it again and again and again. Okay. And this is also why it's so important to track what you're doing, track your contacts. Where are they coming from? Putting them in your database, following up with them, all that kind of stuff. And I know you guys are like, shut up. We've heard it 1,000 times. So I'll stop on that. So qualifying questions, number one, right? So somebody calls off of one of your listings, a sign call, if you're paying for Zillow, open house, whatever, right? So that first question should be, are you working with an agent, right? So obviously, if my phone rings, like Kristen, let's say you call me, ring, 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 right? And Kristen says, hey, I'm interested in 123 Main Street. I'm not going to be like, do you have an agent? Okay. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, that's a great house. I'm so glad you called about it. How did you hear about the house? How did you find the house? Right? Like, I'm going to have those questions first, so you guys can write all this down. But you got to like feel it out. Like, I feel like a lot of these scripts, like it feels like a script, and like everybody's like, but I wouldn't say that. Well, then don't say that. Say what you would say, right? But have a conversation with people. Their guard is going to come down rather than you just being like, oh, questions. And then you can let them know, like I said, so Kristen calls on this house. Oh my gosh, Kristen, how did you hear about 123 Main Street? Just make something up, Kristen.
I signed in front of a house that was for sale.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, that's a great little house. I just have a few questions for you before we start talking about the house. Number one, do you have an agent you're working with?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to have one?
No. But if you guys notice, I set the expectation. I have a few questions I'm going to ask you before we jump in and start talking about the house. So now Kristen knows I'm going to be asking some questions before we jump in and talk about the house. So I'm big on setting expectations. Set that expectation right up front. I got a few questions for you. Okay.
So I have a question though. What if the person says, well, you get that well,
Mhm.
I haven't signed my, I don't have I didn't sign with an agent yet, but let's just let it go at that. That's a lot of times they get that. Well, no. So that's either, yeah, I do have an agent, but I'm not going to tell you, or no, and I don't want one. So let's just say someone do you divulge the information to them, even if they say, I don't have one, but I'm kind of working with someone, but I haven't signed.
Yeah. So if somebody says like, well, I have this person, but I'm not totally committed to them, I'd be like, oh, okay. What's your experience been?
Okay.
I totally get it. Are you having an enjoyable experience? Is there something that they could be doing differently? And just try to, again, like have a conversation with them, like ask questions, like why are they not calling their agent? Why are they calling you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. And I'll get into this, but I don't represent both sides of a transaction. I won't do it. So if somebody calls on my listing and they don't have an agent, I explain to them, okay, no problem. I try to set an appointment with them. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? Set an appointment with them. So you can say like, I'd love to interview to work with you. You can say it right up front there. And then you can just lead right into another question. Like they don't even have time to object to it, right?
Okay.
So, Laura, like if you say, well, I have this other agent, but I haven't committed yet. Oh, really? Okay. Talk to me about that. Do you like your agent? How come you haven't made a decision to actually, jump in and work with them yet?
Okay.
No, like play with me.
Oh. Well, I had, she came out and she told me what I needed to do, but some of the stuff I'm not sure I'm ready to do all that to, work, like the simple things. Obviously you have to have the background, qualifying proof of funds to see in house. And what if I don't want to have that yet because I don't know exactly what I'm looking for?
Sure, I can completely understand that. However, at the same time, our sellers have requested that only pre-qualified buyers are entering the home, especially during this time of, COVID-19. And we want to keep the traffic limited to people that are actually qualified to purchase the home. I'm happy to set you up with one of my lenders. They can probably pre-qualify you, in the next hour or so. And they're absolutely wonderful. They can probably get you a great rate. I'm happy to give you their phone number if you'd like to have a conversation with them. At this time though, all our private showings are reserved for pre-qualified buyers, or buyers, if they are purchasing in cash, they are providing a proof of funds.
Okay, all right, that's,
Right.
I love that part. That's good, because then it doesn't give them a way to back out if that's their only excuse. If that's considered an excuse, sometimes, I don't know.
Yeah. So, and I would have that like if it is somebody calling on your listing, have that conversation up front with your sellers. Like, hey guys, just so you know, we may get some sign calls. We may get, I may get Zillow calls and things like that. You only want pre-qualified people coming through your house, right? Like, tie it down, right? Yeah, why do I want people coming through that don't, right?
Yeah.
You can't buy a house, right? So if somebody said, I'm not ready yet, then it might be something like, okay, you know what, Laura, you just told me you're not ready. Sounds like maybe we need to get together, go over the process of everything, talk about what the market looks like right now, and we can go ahead and set you up on a search. And then if and when you are ready to purchase and you want to go ahead and put that pre-qualification letter in place, we can do so, and then we can start looking at houses together.
Okay, sounds great. That's perfect.
Right? And if they say no, then sorry, I'm not the agent for you. I don't think any of you want to go spend time with people that aren't qualified.
Right, for sure.
Right? I don't, and I've
Especially
done it.
in this market, right? Okay.
Yep, and I will tell you a story about how I failed forward later. But yeah, so number one, are you working with an agent? Okay, so if they give you the scenario, then just ask more questions around it. Okay, so let's say that she says no. Okay, great. My next question is, do you plan on getting a mortgage or paying cash for the home? Or say for if and when, right? I always say if, because again, I feel like it takes that anxiety level down with people. Because when you say when, they're like, whoa, okay, I called you, all right? Hold on a second, But you say if and when, it's okay, so I don't have to work with you. I don't have to buy with you. I don't have to do anything, okay? So if you thought about, will you be getting a mortgage or paying cash for if and when you purchase a home? Oh, I'll be getting a mortgage. Okay, great. Have you been pre-qualified? No, I have not. Okay, so we're going to want to go ahead and get pre-qualified, because that's going to be the first piece to the puzzle. Okay, so we have to know where we are to know where we're going. Because
a quick question, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, so if they're getting a mortgage, we can go forward with, okay, let me help you with the process. But what if they say they are cash buyers? Can you ask for proof of funds, or how do you, because people say a lot of stuff. So how do you make sure that that's?
Okay, so, I'll be paying cash. Okay, great. So my policy is if you're going to be financing and getting a mortgage, I have to have a pre-qualification letter on file. If you're going to be paying cash, I just have to see a proof of funds and have that on file. Well, I don't want to provide that. Okay, I completely understand. And at the same time, I have to have a proof of funds on file to take you to anything. It's part of my process. Right? I mean, think about it. You go to your doctor's office, most of the time they ask for your insurance card up front, right? You got to get in the mindset of I'm a professional. And if somebody's not willing to go through the process and follow the steps, like they're probably not serious. And I don't care if you don't have a lick of business, you could be spending that time that you're driving to go meet them, showing them a house, whatever, lead generating, doing other activities to work on your business. Okay. And I know that's so hard because when you don't have anything, you will chase whatever is in front of you. But follow the process and ask the questions. Okay.
So Kaylee,
Yeah.
is this protocol for basically all realtors now?
Do whatever you want.
What?
You can do whatever you want. If you
Really?
if you want to show people houses without seeing a pre-qual letter, you can do that if you want. I don't recommend it, but you can do it.
Well, it seems like everybody at Keller Williams is telling us to get a pre-qualification pre-qualification letter.
Yeah.
Or proof of funds.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're being taught.
Right. But that's what I'm teaching right now.
Right. I
There's
just wonder
no
if
law.
there are.
There's no law. There's no absolute, this has to happen. So if you don't want to obtain that information, you don't have to. I would place a big caution sticker on your forehead.
I was just wondering if other realtors are, I mean, outside of Keller Williams, if that's normal for them to do it like that without.
I don't know. I will tell you this, the realtors that I surround myself with, we expect to have those documents on file. So I'm not sure if other agents from KW or other agents from other brokerages are not requiring that. Again, like this is a preference for me. So, okay, so you want to get through that piece, right? So now we know if they're not pre-qualified, we got to get them pre-qualified, okay? If they are pre-qualified, okay, great. Who's your lender that you've decided to work with? You know, let's say they say M&T. Okay, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but M&T does not have the same reputation in real estate as premium mortgage or prime lending, right? And if you don't know that, then I suggest you do some research on the different lenders that are out there and who are the preferred lenders in our industry. You know, and I've had great loans with M&T and I've had not great loans with M&T. And almost every single loan I've had with some of these other lenders have been absolutely excellent, wonderful. My clients are happy, right? So I'm going to continue to work with them. But so somebody says, you know, I'm with M&T. Well, you know what? Don't love M&T. And I know that one of my other preferred lenders can probably get them a better rate, can probably cut down some of their closing costs. So I'm going to ask them, are you open to a second opinion? Yeah, I guess. Okay, great, because I have this amazing lender and they can usually beat any rate that's out there. They have a lot of different creative programs for loans for people. I would love for you guys to have a conversation and see how they could help you. Just try to go that route. They might say, nope, not open to it, happy with my bank, that's who I want to use. Okay, no problem, sounds great. Okay. Okay, so pre-qualified, you're asking for proof of funds, you're asking for a letter, you're through all that part. Okay, great. So the whole reason you called Kristen or Laura, I forget who called originally, was to talk about 123 Main Street. So you said you drove by, you saw the sign. Have you looked at it online? Have you seen the pictures or anything like that? You know, asking them questions about the house. So you drove by, you found it. Are you looking at other properties? Have you been in the market a while? How are you finding properties? Okay, so again, writing some of these down. Tell me about your home search. What has your experience been? Have you been looking for a while? How are you finding properties? Like, you want to ask as many questions as possible, right? So they're telling you about their story of their home search, going a little deeper, you know, they're saying, wow, this happened, that happened. I've been looking for a few months, whatever. Okay, so 123 Main Street is in Fairport. Just out of curiosity, did you have any other areas in mind? Okay. Okay, now also 123 Main Street is listed at 149. Is that kind of the price point you've been sticking in? Right, we kind of looking, you know, 120 to whatever. Oh, well, actually I can go up to 200, but I would like to stay lower because I know how competitive the market's been, blah, 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 blah. Awesome, can't wait to work with you. I don't have to set that many expectations. You already know what's up, right? Or they say, well, I'm pre-qualified to 150 and I'm looking at 150s. Okay. Would love for us to sit down together because I want to go over what's going on in the market with you so that we can strategize a plan that's going to give you the most amount of buying power going forward. How can I maximize your buying power? Okay, so using different language like that. Okay. You can even ask them, like, what have you heard about? You know, after they tell you all about their home search and everything, then you can say, okay, what have you heard about the Rochester real estate market? Nothing, I know nothing. Okay, awesome. We gotta sit down together, okay? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff I gotta go over with you. I know this, I know that, da, 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 da. Okay, great. Sounds like you have your feet wet a little bit with what's been going on. Let's get together, let's go over, you know, my process and what that looks like. And then I want to go over some different strategies with you that I use to win homes for my buyers. Okay. I want to go over some strategies that I use to win homes for my buyers. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on that?
Yeah, I had a question. I don't really have a strategy, so what would that conversation?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that. Okay, so you set the appointment, you got them to come in, you got them to get a pre-qual letter, everything's going great. Oh, real quick, guys, where should you meet your buyer?
In the office.
In the office, always in the office, okay? Same thing. You go to meet your doctor, you go to meet your dentist, you go to meet your lawyer, you're in the office, okay? Set that expectation up front, you know? I've had people call on my listings and they want to see the house and they've provided a pre-qual letter and I'm like, okay, great. We just need to meet at my office first and then we can go see the house. And they don't want to meet me at my office. Okay, well then I think that you should call another agent because for me, my safety is number one. And I'm not afraid to say that to people. Not afraid to say it. And none of you should be afraid to say that either. We've all heard stories of realtors, you know, recently in the last year, that have had, you know, some safety issues. So don't be shy about saying my policy is I meet everyone at the office first. Okay. The more confident you are when you say that, the more they'll respect it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and screen share with you guys because we're going to jump into what an appointment might look like. If you don't have a buyer guide or buyer packet, I suggest you create one. This is an example of one of mine. I'm always floating pages in and out here and there, so I'm not sure which one this one has connected to it. But the first page when I open it up is the buyer consult basically a table of contents, which for me is how am I going to run my appointment? Okay. This sets the expectation up front. So as soon as they sit down, thank you so much for coming in. I'm so glad that we're able to sit down together. We're going to use this guide on the screen for today's appointment, consultation, whatever you want to call it, meeting. Okay. And I usually make a joke. This is more for me to stay on track than for you. Okay. So we're going to go over some housekeeping stuff first. We'll get into talking about what's going on in the market. Then we're going to come up with a strategy, you know, for you during this process. We're going to strategize a plan. We're going to go over your needs and wants in your home. We're going to set up your search. I'm going to talk about some different methods that I use to look for homes. And then if we have time, we're going to go over the purchase timeline, what that looks like from start to finish. Okay. This is fluffy stuff. You can put that in there or not. I have a biography in there. Again, it's just fluffy. Our belief system. So I 1000% believe in this. I like to put it right out there. Like, I'm totally a win-win person, big on integrity, big on customer service, big on communication, teamwork. You know, I need my clients to trust me, all that. So talk about that. I have a mission statement, fluffy, fluffy, fluffy. Okay. So the housekeeping stuff. So this lets them know this is stuff that we're going to be going over today. So I go over agency disclosure, I go over fair housing and anti-discrimination, and I go over the buyer agency agreement. And now I have them sign the COVID disclosure as well. So I get that all done right off the bat. The other stuff I kind of slip in there, you know, it can come later. I don't think you have to do it at the first meeting, but definitely agency disclosure, fair housing, anti-discrimination, and then that buyer's agency agreement to go over with them. And then COVID, just to get it out of the way.
We still need to do the COVID, you know?
I haven't heard that we're not, so I'm just going to keep doing it. But I don't know. I could be wrong. To me, it's a piece of paper with a signature, so it's no sweat off my back to get it done. So, so at this point in the appointment, I would say, okay, this is the housekeeping stuff we're going to go over. I have it all printed out in front of them. I can't wait for next month because we're going to actually do this in person, so you guys can actually see how I sit with my clients. But I sit across from them, and I don't know why this is not showing up. I sit across from them and I go over this document so that it's facing them. It's upside down to me. I know it like the back of my hand. Before I knew it like the back of my hand, I would highlight the parts that I wanted to talk about. Okay. So I suggest that you guys, if you don't know this document, learn it, write it out in layman's terms, and practice it until you know it like a line from a movie, you know, like you could sing that song without the music, okay? I'm gonna go through and explain it the way that I run my business. You guys are welcome to run your business the way that you choose, as long as it's legal and ethical, okay? This is how I run my business. So, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, we are sitting together. So the first document we're gonna go over is a New York State mandated document, okay? I'm actually required to go over this with you at our first meeting. If I don't go over this with you at our first meeting, I can actually be fined by New York State. And I'd rather not give them more money than I have to. So we're gonna roll through this disclosure form. Now, we're not selling anything today, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a big X through the seller's agent paragraph. However, we are talking about possibly purchasing something, okay? So we are gonna focus on the buyer's agent paragraph. I'm gonna draw a circle around it right here, okay? Now, as a buyer's agent, I have certain fiduciary duties to you. They include reasonable care, undivided loyalty, confidentiality, full disclosure, and obedience within the law. So for those of you that were looking at my face, I know it looks like I'm looking down, but I was looking at Philippa the entire time. And when I do this with my clients, I look them in the eye and they look me back in the eye. And sometimes they're like, oh, and they look down to see, am I actually saying what's on this piece of paper? But it is extremely powerful to be able to look your client or your potential client in the eye and make those promises to them. So I have certain fiduciary duties to you. They include reasonable care, undivided loyalty, confidentiality, full disclosure, and obedience within the law. So I can't do anything illegal, but I have to do what you tell me to do, okay? And like I said, in the beginning, I used to take my highlighter and I would highlight these fiduciary duties so I could put my finger on it and I could walk them through it, okay? All right, so went over the fiduciary duties. Now, the other two paragraphs we're gonna focus on are dual agent and dual agent with a designated sales agent, okay? So looking at dual agency, I'm gonna give you an example, okay? So I have a seller and have their house listed. So I'm representing the seller, it's my listing, okay? Now we start working together and I'm working with you towards purchasing a house and you wanna purchase my listing. I then become a dual agent, okay? So New York State says there's something in common here and that thing in common is me, okay? I am not comfortable with dual agency. I choose to not practice dual agency. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. So should a situation arise where I have a listing where I'm representing the seller and you are interested in my listing, what I would do is I would refer you to one of the fantastic agents in my office that I work with, and they would be able to navigate you through that transaction. Is that all right with you? And I check in with them. Is that all right with you? And I've had people say, well, why? Well, because for me, I don't find that it's fair to represent both sides. I've promised these fiduciary duties to my seller. I've promised fiduciary duties to you. So if I'm representing both sides, I basically become a contract writer because I can't give both of you full disclosure and both of you confidentiality at the same time, right? So to give you the most amount of representation, it's in your best interest for me to refer you to another agent in this scenario. Most people, and for me, it's 100% of the time, will be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Who doesn't want somebody working in their interests 100%, right? Okay. And then I always ask them, is that all right with you? Right? You got to find out that's all right with them. Okay, dual agent with a designated sales agent. So the other type of dual agency that exists is with a designated sales agent. I do practice that type of dual agency because all that means is that we're working together on finding you something to purchase, and you're interested in another Keller Williams listing down the hall. You know, Laura Decker down the hall's got this fabulous house listed. You're interested in it, okay? Now New York State says, hold on, we still have something in common. It's not me, it's my brokerage. Okay, and I point up because I'm sitting in Keller Williams. So I say, we both work for Keller Williams. All my fiduciary duties stay the same to you. All the fiduciary duties that Laura has with her seller stay between them, okay? But our broker does have an interest in both transactions or in the transaction on both sides, okay? Is that all right with you? You can also say, this allows me to show you the most amount of homes. Because it's true, right? If they didn't want you to work with another Keller Williams agent, like what? That's stupid, okay? Any questions on that, guys?
No.
If you do choose to practice dual agency, again, you can do it. I just challenge you to think about the complexity of it. Okay, so maybe you guys come to terms, everything's great, you agreed on a price, and now we're doing inspections, and now this person wants this and this person won't do that, right? Okay, we got through that. All right, good. Round 3. Now we got to close. Well, this person won't do this person wants to do this, right? Like for me, I look at it like you're setting yourself up for a disaster. My whole goal in real estate is to provide really great service and create clients for life. I want to get a referral every single time. Okay. So for me personally, like I wouldn't want to work with somebody where they're also helping the person that I'm like not against, but like, you know what I mean? So you just got to think about that. Okay, so then you would fill it out with your name here. You would write what office you're out of right here. You would check mark buyer, check mark buyer's agent, and then have your buyer sign here. Next one, much easier. Okay, so I say the next document we're going to go over, again, another New York State mandated document. It's a New York State Fair Housing Anti-Discrimination Disclosure Form. Okay, so I have to comply with all local, state, and federal fair housing laws. We cannot discriminate, okay? This form outlines all the different ways that somebody could be discriminated against. If you feel that you have been discriminated against, you have the right to file a complaint. You can visit this website, you can call this hotline, you can make the report on that person. Your name as the realtor goes here, what Keller Williams location you're out of goes here, your client's name gets printed here, and they sign here. Any questions on that? Awesome, okay. All right. So the next one we're gonna go over is the buyer agency agreement. Okay. So again, my client's sitting in front of me. I went from agency disclosure, transition to fair housing. Now I'm going to tie it all together. Okay. The next one we're going to go over is called a buyer agency agreement. Okay. If we didn't have this agreement in place, I become a sub-agent of the listing agent. Doesn't matter who the listing agent is. Okay. They could work for Remax, Howard Hanna, whoever. Okay. If I'm a sub-agent of the listing agent, I'm technically supposed to represent the seller's best interests. And I don't want to do that. I want to represent your best interests. Okay. So this document allows me to do so. Okay. So most people will be like, oh, okay. Right. Like who wants their agent to be working under the listing agent? No. Right. Okay. So again, I'm going to go through, I'm going to explain this document, how I run my business. We'll go through some of the paragraphs and pull them apart so you guys can see, is that how I want to do it, or do I want to do it the way that it is described in the paragraph? Okay, so paragraph number 1, you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are appointing Keller Williams and myself to represent you if and when you purchase a property, okay? Paragraph number 2, purpose of agency. Now, when we talked on the phone, we were looking at 123 Main Street. That's a single family house. So it sounds like we're going to stay within residential listings. We're not looking for an investment property or vacant land or anything like that. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to check mark residential. I usually go one step further and I write down what counties we're in as well. I don't know why I do that. Somebody asked me that last time and I was like, I don't know, somebody told me to do it and I've just always done it. So I'll say to them, okay, we're looking in Fairport and Penfield and Webster. Sounds like we're gonna stay within Monroe County. Are you open to any other counties? No, I'm not. Okay, great. Then we're just gonna write within Monroe County, okay?
If they buy in another county, it doesn't matter though, correct? Or you make an offer?
I'll be really honest. Well, yeah, you can make an offer. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I feel like somebody told me a while back that like it wouldn't apply unless you wrote down like what county it was in. So like, let's say we signed this for Monroe County and then my client went and bought a house in Wayne County with somebody else. Like I wouldn't be able to reinforce this because I didn't write Wayne County on here. I have no idea if that's true. I just feel like that was the story that was told to me, you know, however many years ago. So that's how I've always done it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Kaylee, I have a question.
Okay.
So I printed out these papers that were listed.
Mhm.
I don't see this one in there, buyer agency agreement.
Hmm.
Is this just something that you have in your pile, or is this what we're all supposed to have?
Yeah, you guys are supposed to have it. She actually emailed me about it today too.
Oh.
You can find it on the GRAR webpage. If you go to the main page and go to contracts and forms, it'll take you to this page. And then
Okay.
you can find it under miscellaneous right here.
Okay, I do have exclusive right to sell contract. Is that something different?
That's a listing contract. She probably just put the wrong one in.
Okay,
So you guys, if you're looking at anything other than my screen, you want to be looking at the buyer agency agreement.
It's there. It's in the, just the second thing. There's
It is.
2 separate PDFs.
Oh, okay, good.
It's there.
Okay, so buyer agency agreement. All right, so purpose of agency, we're through that. Number 3, brokers representation and services. Basically says that I'm a licensed agent. Okay, so I'm the only one that can show you homes, negotiate your offer, write your offer, that kind of stuff. You know, if we got to get you into a house tonight and I'm on appointments, I'm already booked and I got to have another agent take you, it has to be a licensed agent. It can't be like my sister is going to get you in this house. Okay. So, you know, anybody that we're working with in terms of real estate, they're going to be, you know, a licensed agent. Number 4, buyer's obligations. So this document asks 3 things of you as a buyer while we're working together. Okay. So the first one is that you are working exclusively with me, not any other agents, brokers, or even homeowners. Okay. We might come across a for sale by owner. That's actually where you're going to need the most amount of representation. The second one is that you're acting in good faith. Of course, why wouldn't you? You seem like a good person. And number 3, it's actually the silliest one of all, but it's that you're providing me with the appropriate search criteria. You know, so we have a pre-qual letter for 200,000. We're talking about spending, you know, around 150, 175 in Fairport, Webster, Penfield. So we're not going to look at $1 million homes on Canandaigua Lake, right? We're going to stay within this search criteria that we've already discussed. Okay. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. So I'll tell you guys this story. Sorry if you've heard it before. The first time I taught this class, so this is going back like, I don't know, almost 2 years ago now, maybe more than that. But it was the first time I taught the class and I came off the class and I was feeling really good. And I was like so excited to have taught the class. And the next day I had a buyer consultation with a new buyer. It was a referral. Her son had bought a house with my team member like years and years and years ago. And then the year prior to this appointment, I had sold her ex-husband a house. He moved from Jersey to be closer to the son. So I worked with him. And now mom is moving from Jersey into town. So again, the process stays the same. I don't care if I've sold everybody in your house or everybody in your family a house. So
I'm gonna send it to you.
What is it?
Vicky, can you mute yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thanks. So process stays the same. I bring in this woman, we sit down together. She terrified me, honestly. I think she weighed like half of what I did and I was still like terrified of her. So this tiny little lady comes in and she's like, sure, whatever, I'll sign whatever. I just want to get in and out of here. I want to go see these houses that we have appointments for. Like, let's just, boom, let's do this. I'm like, okay, cool. Go through my whole spiel, do it as fast as possible, get to this document, get to number 4, buyer's obligations. You're working exclusively with me. No, wait. So you're telling me I can only work with you? Well, yeah, we're going to work together on this, right? So I find a house on Zillow. I want to come into town. I call the agent and I say, I want to see this house. I can't go see it. I go, well, the agent's probably going to ask you if you have an agent that you're working with. And then you would say me, right? So I played stupid. And she was like, Right, but what if I don't want to sign this? So what if I don't want to work exclusively with anybody? I just, I want to, just, what if I want to write with the listing agent? Oh, well, the listing agent represents the seller's best interest. So wouldn't you want to work with somebody representing your best interest? Sale's a sale. I was like, what? Okay. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy to continue going through the document. And if you have any other questions, we can go through it and then we can dive a little deeper at the end. Would you like to do that? And she's like, I don't know. I just don't understand this. I don't really, find value in it, whatever she said. And I was like, okay, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to take you to those 2 houses today because I have to have this on file in order for us to work together. And she's like, okay. So she starts to get up and I'm like, crap, I have to go get my team leader because if I let this lady walk out of here as a referral and we sold 2 other people in her family a house, she's going to kill me. So I run in the office. I'm like, hi, I need your help. Please come here. So my team leader comes in, sits down, has the same exact conversation with her, like almost to a T. And she says the same thing back to her. Sale's a sale. So my team leader says, well, unfortunately, Kaylee's not going to be able to take you to those houses today because we expect exclusivity from our clients. We work really, really hard for our clients and we expect them to work solely with us in return. So she says to her, and I was like, this is genius. You're going to remember this for the rest of your life now. This woman had been divorced 3 times. And my team leader says to her, it's like if you were getting divorced and you hired an attorney, you would hire your own attorney, right? You wouldn't hire the same attorney that your soon-to-be ex-husband's going to use, right? And it was like, bing, light bulb went off. She was like, I'll sign wherever. Okay. So keep that as an objection handler. If somebody's like, hold on a second, right? You can say, okay, well, it's like if you're going to court against somebody, you're going to want your own representation, right? Correct? So that's my little story there. Okay. Term of agency. So we have to put a timestamp on us working together, okay? So this is where, like, in that first conversation where you're asking them all those questions, like, you're trying to get to their motivation. Like, oh my God, I've been looking for a few months and I have to find something and my lease is up in June or blah, 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 right? Well, I'm not really looking. I saw this house pop up. I thought it was really cute. I want to take a look. I'm not in any rush. I'm really just starting the process. Okay, so that's going to help you navigate what is this timestamp I'm putting on this. Okay, so if they are in a hurry and motivated, you're going to write for 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Okay, if they are not in a hurry, I would write for something like a year. Okay. And actually, as of recently, I've been writing all people for a year, even if they are super motivated, because I've had buyers in the last 12 months who literally took 9 months to find a house. We wrote 5 offers. They kept losing them. And you can just explain that to them. You know what? I know you're super motivated. And at the same time, we're in a pretty competitive market. So I'm not sure what that will bring. So if we have the time, let's just go ahead and write it for a year right now. Not comfortable with that? Okay, 6 months, no problem. Right? Just totally back off. I've had people be like, how about 2 months? I'm like, okay, how about 2 months? And then I got to have you re-sign it, but whatever. Okay. Just do whatever they want. Just get it signed. Okay. Okay. So you sign for a year. Okay. So if we do a year from now, so 6/15/2021 goes till 6/15/2022. Okay. So Laura, you're my buyer. We're sitting in the office. Okay. This is how I'm going to explain this next part here. So Laura, let's say we get to July 10th next year. So it's June 10th. It's June 10th, 2022, okay? Show you a house, you're like, you know what? I love it, but I'm gonna wait and see if the price comes down, okay? Maybe the market's shifted by then. Okay. So I'm going to wait and see if the price comes down. All right. 2 weeks later, now it's June, 30th, whatever. You decide, I'm going to write an offer on that house that Kaylee showed me, but I'm going to write it with another agent. Keller Williams would still be due their commission from the sale because that took place within 30 days of the end date of our agreement. You can write whatever amount you want in there. You could write 0 days. I do 30 days, okay? And I say to them, it's never happened to me, but it happened for somebody somewhere. That's why it's on this piece of paper, okay? So again, I'll say it one more time, okay? So we write 30 in there. I usually write 30 and I circle it and I say, now this part, okay? So Laura, let's say we get to next June. I show you a house. You're like, I love it, but I'm gonna wait and see if the price comes down. 2 weeks later, you decide to write an offer on the house that I showed you, but you do that with another agent. Keller Williams is still due their commission from the sale because that took place within 30 days of the end date of our agreement. Okay, so that's probably the hardest part of this whole document. You guys are going to go back and like rewind that 15 times, okay, to get that language right.
Okay, so I have a question. So let's just say things are going well and they're gonna write with you, but so when do you approach them to renew the new agency form? Because you really have, let's say that till June, whatever. So do you do it before then or do you wait till after that 30 days?
I would say, hey, I just got a notification that our buyer agency agreement's gonna run out. I'm gonna send you a new one to re-up, okay? Just be assumptive. Yep. I just got a notification. You can't get a notification. You're looking through your phone.
Kelly, can I ask
Yeah.
can I ask a quick question about that too?
Yeah.
Does it only apply to a home that you've already showed them and they were waiting on the 30 days? Is it only if you already showed them the home once?
So let's read it, right? Broker's authority to act as buyer's exclusive agent under this agreement shall begin 6/15/2021 and shall end at midnight 6/15/2022, or upon closing of a property purchased under this agreement and payment of broker's compensation. However, if a buyer purchases or leases a property within, we're saying 30 days after this agreement ends that was shown to the buyer by the broker or by anyone else during the life of this agreement, buyer will pay broker the same compensation agreed to in section 6 below. Buyer will not owe any compensation to broker if such purchase or lease occurs during the life of another buyer agency agreement that the buyer enters into after this agreement ends, but before the expiration of the effective period. So they go buy a house with somebody else, you're still getting paid. They go see a house with somebody else during this agreement and write on it, you're still getting paid.
Even though you didn't show them that one.
That's what it says in the paragraph. I don't tell people that though. I'm like, because this has never happened, right? Truthfully, this should never happen for you guys. Because you should be such a good agent that you are on top of it and you are in constant communication with your clients, right?
How would you even know that they bought a house with someone else?
You'd have to really do some detective work. I mean, again, like it would have to be like you didn't talk to them for 6 months and you were like, hey, you want to go see this house? And they were like, oh, I already bought something 3 months ago. And then what are you going to do? You're going to like bring a court case against them? Do you know what I mean? Really, it's to get your client to understand that they are exclusively working with you. Okay. So you just say to them, listen, we're working together for this amount of time. And then it has basically like a 30-day grace period, right? Any other questions, you guys? Okay. Compensation of broker. So again, this is a nice little transition, right? We just got done talking about, hey, if you go do this, you are going to have to pay my commission. Oh, let me back up for 1 second. Did anybody pick up on who is getting paid the commission?
Keller Williams.
Yep. Never say me, I, okay? It's Keller Williams. It says it right there, buyer to pay broker. Always blame it on Keller Williams. Anytime you talk about money, commissions, anything like that, Keller Williams. When I sit down in my listing appointments, it's 6%. 3% stays with the listing brokerage. 3% gets paid to the broker who brings the buyer. It's all about the brokerages. Okay. Okay, so compensation of broker. I start at the bottom, I cross them off. There's no non-refundable retainer, there's no hourly fee. However, I'm sure you're very aware I make a commission. It's 3% of the purchase price, okay? Or you could say Keller Williams makes a commission, okay? It's 3% of the purchase price. Now, there's a few instances where it may not be covered or fully covered by the seller, okay? A seller signs a listing agreement to pay the broker who brings the buyer, right? So a few instances where it may not be covered or fully covered. I'm going to go over those scenarios with you because Keller Williams may ask you to make up the difference if we run into any of these, okay? So number one, we're going to start with the least scary and move to the most scary, okay? You don't need to tell them this, but for you guys, this is the order you go in. So number one, we're looking at bank-owned or government-owned properties, so a foreclosure, right? Sometimes they only offer 2 or 2.5%, okay? So, okay, personally, guys, I've never asked a buyer to make up the difference. Like if it's 2.5, like whatever, it's not my buyer's fault. The agent or that bank is just sucks, right? So whatever, for me, it is what it is. I'm not gonna grapple over 0.5%. But you can go to your buyer and say, like, you got to make up this difference. So what I tell my buyers is, if we're looking at bank-owned or government-owned property, sometimes they only offer 2 or 2.5%. I've never asked the buyer to make up the difference. However, I do have to get permission from my broker to take a lesser commission. Okay, or my broker has to authorize a lesser commission, something like that, right? Number two, for sale by owner. So I talked about, this is a situation where you'd want the most amount of representation, right? So now I'm referring back to earlier in the document. So for sale by owner, sometimes they're, again, only offering to pay a portion. Maybe they're offering to pay 1.5%, 2%. Maybe they're not willing to pay it at all, okay? It's my job to go in and negotiate that, okay? I tell people I've done a few for sale by owners in my day. I'm 2-0 against them. So I feel pretty confident right now in my negotiation tactics with them. However, again, this is where you need the most amount of representation. So if they're unwilling to pay that, that is where Keller Williams will ask you to make up the difference or pay that commission. Now there's several different ways that we can work it into your transaction. We can cross that bridge if we get there, okay? Now, the only other way that Keller Williams would ask you to pay that 3% would be if I did everything right, acted in good faith, brought you all the way to the closing table, and you decided, I don't want to buy the house anymore, okay? So if you walk away at the closing table, Keller Williams says, hey, we did our job, so we need to get paid, okay? Most people understand that, right? Like, who wants to work and not get paid? And then you have them initial on that little line there, okay? Now, I will tell you guys this. Remember Mr. Match guy from the beginning? My wonderful first client? Well, he turned out to be a jerk, and he walked away at the closing table, and I still got paid. So that's reason enough for me to get this signed every time. I don't know if it's going to be reason enough for you, but that was my first transaction, and I didn't even really finish out the transaction, but he paid my commission, okay? So again, going over that. Oh, also, I had somebody ask me about this one time. If you are working like lower priced properties, like, you know, $30,000, $40,000 investment properties, things like that, like, 3% might not amount to a certain dollar amount that you want to make. Like, let's say you decide, you know what, I gotta, whatever I do, it's got to be a minimum of, you know, $2,000 or $3,000, something like that. You can put a dollar amount in there if you want, depending on, you know, where you're thinking your business is going to come from. So, okay, number 7. Other potential buyers. So I'm going to explain this how I work my business. You're certainly welcome to work your business how you want. Other potential buyers. You, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are working exclusively with me. However, you know that I have other buyers that I'm working with, okay? So in the event that I have multiple buyers interested in the same house, my rule is I will show anybody that house, okay? If I have 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of buyers that are interested in the same house, I will show that house. However, I will only write an offer for one, okay? So the way I've done it in the past is whoever comes to me first, I will write the offer for them. Or if I have a longer standing relationship with a particular client, because I do sell homes to my friends and family, okay? So if either of those situations arise, what I would do is I would refer the other parties out to the other fantastic agents in my office, and they would be able to write the offer for you. If your offer prevailed, then I would take your transaction over and continue to work with you till the end. Are you all right with that? Well, why? Well, because I don't feel like it's fair for me to know everything about your qualifications and us strategize to write you an offer, and then me turn around and do that same thing with somebody else that I'm working with. So to keep it totally separate, that's how I decided to work my business. Okay. So again, if you want to write multiple offers for people, go ahead and do it. How would you feel if you were writing an offer and you lost, and then you found out that your agent wrote an offer for another one of their clients and they won? You'd be like, well, did they not try hard enough for me? Or like, what was it about those people, right? And now you're asking your agent those questions, and your agent's like, oh, well, they were 30% down and they went 30 grand over, and they were this and that and blah, 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 right? Well, guess what? That agent just violated all their confidentiality to give you full disclosure, right? It's a slippery slope, you guys. I don't recommend it. This actually happened to me this year. It was awful. It was the most heartbreaking thing ever. My friend of, gosh, we've been friends for 10 years. Him and his fiance, they're super close friends of mine. They come to me to buy a house. I had been working with my cousin to buy a house. The first house that my cousin wants to write on is the first house that my friends want to write on. And I had to refer my friends out because it was my cousin. And I actually like my friends better than my cousin, but I had to honor that family rule. But neither of them won it. So thankfully that all worked out. But I just challenge you to think about how you want to run your business. And, you know, are you looking for a paycheck, or are you looking to create clients for life? Right? Okay, moving on. Non-discrimination. One more time for the people in the back. We cannot discriminate, okay? We have to comply with all local, state, and federal fair housing laws. Early agreement termination, okay? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if we're not working well together, you don't like me, I'm not going to handcuff you to this, okay? I hope we can have a conversation about it, but if it's not working out, I want you to go be happy. So what we can do is we can tear this up, or we can do an addendum that releases you from our agreement to work together if it's not working out. How's that sound? Great. Okay, let's back up for a second. Number 1, did I call this a contract or an agreement? Anybody? Agreement. Change your language. Contract is scary. Agreement is not. I don't know why they call it a contract when the next sentence is, in the event this agreement, right? Change it. They could be looking at it, reading the word contract. I don't care. You say agreement. Okay. So in the event this agreement is terminated by the buyer prior to Section 5 for any reason other than the broker's fault, the buyer will be liable for and will pay all damages and expenses incurred by the broker, okay? Which is, it can include the commission. Okay, so let's think about this for a second, okay? So you're working with this young couple, right? Super great. It's been 3 months. You've written one offer, you're trucking along, and she's like, oh my God, my sister just got licensed. We're going to work with her. What are you going to do? Are you going to go after this girl for gas money? Seriously, like, think about it. No, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Let me know if you need anything. I'm so excited for you guys. Best of luck. If you know of anyone else, I'd love to help them. Right? But if you want to, you can go after them for gas money or whatever, sort of damages you feel, fit that situation. Okay. Number 10, responsibility of buyers under this agreement. Okay. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, there is 2 of you. So both of your names are on here. Both of you would be signing. Both of you would be upholding your end of the agreement for us to work together. Number 11, renewal and modification of agreement. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, let's say we get to next June and we haven't found you anything yet. No problem. We want to keep working together. We can renew this. We can modify this. Let's say you want to change what counties you're looking in or something like that. We can do whatever we need to do to make this document work for you. Number 12, professional counsel. I'm a licensed real estate agent. I'm not a mortgage broker. That's why I had to talk to my lender. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an engineer, and I'm not going to pretend to be. So when you have those questions, I have to direct you to that professional. Okay, so you're going to have financial questions. You're going to have, legal questions. I have to say, let's talk to Kevin. Let's talk to Gage. Let's talk to, whoever we're working with. Okay. Last one. If for some reason this document went to court, the losing party pays the attorney fees. And then entire agreement and assignability. So you're signing this, I'm signing this. This becomes a legally binding document for us to work together. Do you guys have any questions? Awesome. Okay. Where am I? This. Okay. So you get through that. Now in real time, that should take you about 15 minutes. Okay. Like if I sat through and did this like a mock one with you guys, it would take me 15 minutes. Okay. So the fact that it just took like 45, don't worry about it. Okay. Market overview. Let's get into talking about what's going on in the market. Okay. So you talked with your client or your potential client over the phone about where they're looking, right? You asked them some questions about their price point, their location, that kind of a thing, right? So let me give you a little insight as to what's going on. The reason I started doing this was because, fail forward, I found that way back when we were getting into this competitive market, it was just sort of starting. And I worked with a lot of first-time home buyers. So who do first-time home buyers listen to? Their parents, right? So their mom or dad would be like, when I bought a house, blah, right? And then these kids would come in and then they'd be like, you're a liar, or you're just trying to make money, or whatever, and then it would be much, much, much harder to gain their trust and build rapport with them, right? So I let them know right away, hey, we're going to go over what the market looks like right now, okay? Because you can't argue with numbers, right? So if you guys go to the GRAR homepage, under matrix and RPR, you're going to see market stats. That'll take you to this page. You're going to slide across the top to fast stats. Okay. Say we're looking in Monroe County. Okay. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we talked about Penfield. Let's see what's going on in Penfield. Okay. So we're looking at May because we're halfway through June, so we don't have June stats yet, so we're looking at May. Okay, so last year in May compared to this year, our inventory is down. So this falls right in trend with what I've been saying, right? We're in a low inventory. We're down almost 50%, okay? Median sales price has jumped up almost 34%, Okay. What this median sales price tells us is that this is going to be the biggest buyer pool in this area. Okay. So if we're looking in a $200,000 price point, we may be in a same buyer pool of, you know, as these 295s. However, the inventory of homes is going to be much lower because that median sales price also represents the most amount of homes that are available. So biggest buyer pool, but most amount of homes that are available. Okay. Percent of original list price received, 111%. Penfield is hot this year, you guys. Whew. Okay. So again, this falls in trend with, we're probably going to be competing and we're probably going to be paying over asking. So if our max is 200, we realistically need to look between 150 and 175 to leave you room to compete. Okay. So you've just knocked out two birds with one stone. You've set the expectation for them. Okay. And you've given them a strategy. Told you we'd talk strategy, right? So our strategy is we're not going to the max because we don't have room to compete. So I usually float through a few of these stats, and you don't have to spend a lot of time, but the ones that I would focus on would be inventory of homes, the median sales price, and then the percent of original list price received. Okay, one of my failing moments. I told a buyer how competitive it was and how crazy everything is, and you would have to be paying over asking and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't pull the stats ahead of time. And then I sat down with them and I pulled the stats up right in front of their face. And guess what? The inventory was up in that particular area. The median sales price was down in that particular area. And the percent of original list price received was under 100%. I put my foot in my mouth, okay? So that's why it's important for you to ask these questions when you're qualifying them and pull these stats ahead of time. Like I pull them up on the computer, but I also print them out and I give them to them so they can look at it and see it. So like, how do you argue with that? You can't, okay? So using that as a tool to set expectations, I'm all about making your life easier, right? Or my life easier, I should say, when I'm sitting down with people, okay? All right, so I set the expectation, I gave them a little strategy, now we're on to the next piece of the appointment. So let's actually put it into motion. Let's strategize what we're gonna do here, okay? So type of financing, we're gonna talk about it. Are you conventional? Are you cash? Are you FHA? Okay, so it's important to know some of these different loan programs, how they may be an advantage, how they may be a disadvantage, right? And then being very honest about that. And you can give the sandwich approach, something good, something crappy, something good, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Okay, so we're up to 200. We're looking in a 150. So good news is that gives us room to compete, okay? However, we're an FHA loan, which is a government loan, okay? Which if we're compared to a conventional loan or cash, can be seen as not as strong of a loan product, okay? Because they're typically is just a few more hoops for everybody to jump through to get this loan program. It's a great loan program. However, if we are competing against conventional or cash, we may not prevail, okay? But you're not contingent. And like I said, we have room to compete. There's your sandwich, boom. Okay, so again, setting the expectation. And like I said, I have this here, we write it right out. I'm conventional, right? Because a lot of these people too, they'll come in and you're like, great, what did the bank say? What's your loan program? I don't know. Well, how much are you putting down? I don't know. Okay. Great, so glad you listened. So having that piece of paper on file is helpful for you, helpful for them, writing it down. If you write it down, you're more likely to retain it, so make them write it down. Contingent or non-contingent expectations of market, we just talked about it. We're probably going to be competing. We're probably going to be paying over asking. What are my strengths as a buyer? Well, you know what? I may not be cash, but I'm 20% down. So that's an A+ right there. I have, you know, a good down payment. I'm non-contingent. Like, let's list all their strengths. Let's build them up, right? So we're going to try to keep it positive, keep them excited, keep them motivated, okay? This is fluffy stuff, but I have it there because it'll help jog their memory or their thought process and help jog mine. So the next piece, next piece of the puzzle, if we scroll back up, is your needs and wants analysis, okay? So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or sorry, buyer, we just talked about how we're gonna, you know, maximize your buying power. We set some expectations of what's going on in the market. Now let's put together your search and actually see what's out there. Let's look at a few things, right? So I set this up with them. We go to Matrix. Does this bother you guys, all these tabs? That's like my life. I have like 4,000 emails, 40,000 emails, I should say, that I haven't looked at. So we'll go to search, single family. I always take continue to show off of there, okay? You guys know what continue to show means? It means there's a contract, but they're still willing to show it. That's stupid. Your buyer already saw it be active. Why do they need to see it when it goes under contract? And then they change their mind when it goes under contract and they're like, can we go see this? Like, no, it's sold. Why are we going to do that? Okay. So we're only going to look at active properties. So my client is approved up to 200. Mr. Mrs. Buyer, you're approved to 200. We talked about saying between 150 and 175. Do you want me to set your search up to 200? Knowing that we have to leave room for competition, or do you want me to cut it off at a certain amount so that you're not seeing stuff at the top? Let them make that decision. I don't want to see anything that's like over 180. Okay, great. So again, going back to your first conversation with them, hopefully you ask them some questions around, you know, what they're looking for, if they've seen anything else they like. We talked about 123 Main Street. You know what kind of condition 123 Main Street's in, right? So let's say 123 Main Street is perfect, okay? Pristine condition, okay? Now I know 123 Main Street was perfect. Is that kind of what we're looking for? Is that the vibe we're going for? Something turnkey, you turn the key, you move in? Which I gotta tell you guys, this is funny. I didn't know what turnkey meant for like 4 years. Had no idea what turnkey meant. I see Erin laughing. I think she's laughing at me, but I don't know for sure. Yeah.
I was. Sorry.
No,
I shouldn't laugh at you. I know nothing.
No, I think it's hilarious. Listen, I can totally make fun of myself. I joined the team and I was like, I'm big badass buyer specialist. And then I'm like, what does turnkey mean? Like, not a clue. But anyway, so yeah. So whenever I say to people, like, do you want something turnkey? I make sure I explain it because I'm like, not everybody, including people in our industry, know what that means. So, you know, are you open to doing a little bit of work? Because that's going to decide how low we go, right? Because if I put 0, you might get something that's like 60 grand and in the area you're looking in is absolute junk and you're not interested, right? So you want to find a range there. Okay. So let's say my person says, you know, I want something that's in great condition, but you know, if it's lower, that's fine. So I'm going to go to 89, knowing that probably nothing is going to pop up. And my buyer says, you know what, let's go all the way to 200. I want to see it all. I can probably borrow money from mom or dad. So let's just let her rip. Okay, great. I want at least 3 bedrooms. Okay, great. 3+. Okay. I need 2 bathrooms. Okay. What does 2 bathrooms mean to you? Is that 2 places to potty or is that 2 places to shower? Okay, 2 places to potty. Okay. So are you good with 1.5? Right? Yes. Okay. 1.1 plus. That's another mistake I made. Took me a whole year to figure that out because I didn't attend any classes and I was a crappy student and I was writing 1.5 total BAS in my client searches and I was missing a ton of houses. I was a really terrible realtor my first year. Geez. But yeah, 1.1 is 1.5 BAS. If you have 2 half BAS, it's 1.2. Okay. And then the other thing, guys, and you can explain this to your clients if you want to do it this way, is I set stuff up by school district because I can pull more. I can cast a wider net. So if they are like, yeah, I'm looking in, you know, Brighton, Penfield, Webster, blah, 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 right? So you guys, you know, there's stuff that's Penfield with Webster schools. There's stuff that's Brighton with Penfield schools. There's stuff that's Brighton with Pittsford schools, right? So there's all this stuff on the border. So we're gonna go Brighton, Penfield, Webster. Okay. You say to them, is there anything else that's super important to you? Right? A garage would be nice. Okay. Is it like it has to have a garage? So if there's not a garage, you won't consider it? No, I'm open to no garage. I want to see everything. Okay, so I'm going to put garage down as a want and keep it open on your search because we're just going to set this search based on needs. We want to cast the widest net possible, right? So we got 11 matches. It's pretty good. And then what I'll do is I'll pick a few, right? So I'll show them, start with the bottom. Okay, so 150, that's what we talked about staying around. So let's see what a 150 looks like. It's KW listing. Let's see, whose is it? Whose is it? Rita, okay. Okay, so Laura, can you pretend to be my buyer? Okay. Okay, so first look here, I should pick a non-Keller Williams person because I'm going to pick on some of these pictures. Okay, so do you like a ranch? Are you open to ranches, this style home, or are you looking for something that's 2-story?
I'm open to either one, actually.
Okay, cool. All right, so now I know that, right? I know she's open to everything. You might get people that are like, I only want a ranch. Okay, how do you feel about this? Like, I know you said a yard was important to you. You got a little island here in the middle. Are you into that or no?
Nah, it's not really a yard. That's more or less, that's the driveway. So
yeah, like a place for a dog to potty. Okay. Oh, so your reaction. Okay, good, right? You guys got to pick up on this stuff, right? Another mistake I used to make. I would have a reaction before my client would. So I would be like, ooh, and then be like, actually, I don't mind that. And I'm like, okay, zip it, right? So it's always, how do you feel about this kitchen? I hate it. Good, me too. Let's keep going, right? How do you feel about wallpaper? Don't really want to deal with it. Okay, this probably isn't the house for you, right? And then if it's not the house, I'll make fun of the rest of the pictures. You know, poor Rita. There's nothing wrong with that house. Now let's look at something midway. Oh, another ranch. Okay, 2-car garage. Is that good?
it's great.
Great, awesome.
Nice yard.
How do you feel about being in like a wooded area? Are you cool with that?
Yeah, sure. Lots of privacy.
Okay. All right, hardwoods. Do you like hardwoods?
Love them.
Love them. Awesome. Okay, this is pretty open. How do you feel about this?
So far, so good. Open floor plan is pretty good.
The pictures are like hurting my eyes. They're so bright. Okay, now I know cooking is important to you because we already had this conversation, but you know, how do you feel about this kitchen? Doesn't look like there's a ton of space to prepare stuff on the counter.
Yeah, I really run on an island.
On an island. Okay, good. So we're having this conversation. We're flipping through pictures. I'm writing down all of this stuff, right? Island, 2-car garage, yard, privacy, hardwoods. It's open. Oh, I like that bathroom, the tile. Well, those look a little beat up, huh? So I can pick on this because it's not Keller Williams. I'm seeing if there's anything else. If you get people that are, okay, do you want a hair salon in your basement? I mean, I would.
Not really.
Other things to consider, like depending on where people are looking, you know, if you have people that are looking out in, you know, Wayne County, Livingston, like anything that's a little further out, looking at stuff like, okay, are they on septic? Are they on a well? Is that important to somebody? Right? So just, you can kind of start to eliminate some of these things, right? So when I say, okay, are you cool if something is on a septic? No, I want to answer it. Okay, we're going to eliminate any listings that have a septic, right? Okay, I really want AC, or I want the ability to put AC in. Okay, great. So that means we got to be on forced air, most likely, right? So if something is on like baseboard heat, probably not going to take a look at it, right? And writing all of this stuff down, because when your client texts you and says, oh my God, I love this house so much, it's so perfect. And then you're scrolling through and you're like, girlfriend, it's got baseboard heat. Talk to me about this, right? Like, are you willing to overlook that, you know?
So when you're doing the search, there's a way, I kind of just forgot, but when you're doing the search, you either add it as a negative, or you take it off as or, that's what it is. Okay.
Yep. So, but like these, you can do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like down here, like these are all here because of people who have requested stuff. So you can say not septic. Okay.
Okay.
I had a quick question. So obviously you, as you go, you kind of learn what the buyer is looking for, because maybe in the beginning they don't even know. But how do you handle someone, like when you look at their budget and how competitive the market is, and they're asking for things that you just cannot afford, or there's no houses in that price range that will give you that? How do you go about talking to someone without being, you know, negative or mean, and keep them pumped to keep searching, but without kind of deflating them?
Yeah, I think reading through some of these listings is a really helpful tool. Like spending that time with them to say like exactly what we did, right? This is what a 150 looks like. This is what a 185 looks like. This is what a 199 looks like, right? And being able to say to them, listen, I've had people pissed at me, pissed, because I'm like, we're not going to look at this. This doesn't make sense. They're doing delay negotiations on Monday. Your qualification is for 300. It's priced at 299 and it's in great condition, and the showings are stacked. There's 80 showings. We're not going to look at it. It doesn't make sense. You know, and there's exceptions, you know, sometimes it's a learning curve, you know. I'm thinking particularly, I had a girl, I don't know if you guys know North Winton Village, super hot neighborhood. I had a girl that was about $100,000. This is going back like 2018, maybe. So competitive over there. So $100,000, she wanted to stay around $100,000. Well, we kept looking at houses that were $100,000 and she was pissed. She's like, this is garbage. And I'm like, this is $100,000 house. Like, this is a really hard conversation that we have to have. But I think we've seen enough of them to know that this is what $100,000 looks like. Are you ready to move to the next price point? She ended up buying a house that was listed for 118. She got it for 136 and she's super happy and in love, and it checked most of her boxes, right? So you can navigate that process with them. Like I said, it's going to be a learning curve for some people. They're just not going to get it through their head. You know what I mean? You know, maybe asking them more questions around like, okay, where are you willing to make a concession? Like you said, like what they want just doesn't fall within their budget. Okay, so we can't change the price. So the only thing that can change is the house. So is there anything that's in your search that can be adjusted? I know you really, really, really want hardwoods. This house has hardwoods on the first floor, but not in the bedrooms. Is that something we can make a concession on? Right? And then again, like if they're like, no, it's like, okay, then we are where we are is we're just going to have to wait. Like I can't make a house appear for you, you know. I'll tell you guys a funny story. I was in New York this weekend. Every year I try to like buy myself like a fancy gift, right? So I went to New York to see my sister, and I had in my head I was going to buy this fancy gift, and I wanted this particular handbag. So we go to the store, and the poor girl, she showed me all these beautiful handbags, and I'm like, yeah, I want this, but like this type of leather. And she was like, well, we don't make that. And I'm like, but you make it with a tassel. Can you, how do you can't just, there's no way to take the tassel out, like just this, but this. And she's like, no. And then I dragged my sister to like 6 other department stores that carried this store, you know, brand. And my sister said to me finally, why are we going to all these places? The flagship store literally told you they don't make it. So it's not going to exist anywhere else. And I was like, oh my God, I am all of my buyers bundled into one right now. Like, I was like, I'm so sorry, but that's literally what it is. And you just have to have that hard conversation sometimes. Like, hi, what you want doesn't exist right now. Okay. I know we are getting close on time. I might run over if you guys have to jet. I totally get it. But basically in my buyer packet, a lot of questions. Do you need a certain style? I asked Laura, are you good with a ranch? Do you want two stories? Maybe you don't like a Cape Cod. You don't want slanted ceilings. Do you need a certain location? Minimum number of bedrooms, bathrooms? Do you need a garage? Certain amount of land? What is important to you, right? You'll get people that are like, I want a yard. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm a city girl, so I could have a yard that's like this big, and I'd be like, cool, awesome. Where do I sign up, right? Ask them, what does a yard mean to you, right? Home wish list. This is where you're writing down all of their likes and dislikes, okay? So we started looking at pictures. Laura was like, yeah, I like the hardwoods. Yeah, I like that. No, I don't like that, right? So that's where you're writing down all that stuff. Okay, so digging as deep as possible because it's going to make your job easier in the long run. Okay, now I explain to people how I search for homes because I prospect outside of the MLS. You can certainly work your business how you want, all right? But it's important for me to learn the ins and outs of somebody's wants and needs list so that I can go a step further in my prospecting. So obviously, MLS search, we got you on there. It's automated. Anything that pops up will be sent to you within 5 minutes of being listed. I also use social media, terribly powerful tool, okay? I'm in those realtor groups. I'm asking, I have a buyer looking for this. Who has something coming up? If you guys aren't in those groups, get in on them, okay? So you can possibly get a heads up. Hey, so-and-so has this coming next week. Clear your schedule, right? It used to be where we could do a little more coming soons and get people in early, but you know, the GRAR has really cracked down on the rules. So, and I'm a rule follower. So, just giving your client the heads up, there's going to be one that's going to be listed in Penfield for 175. It's a ranch. It's 3 bedrooms. The agent told me it's awesome. Let's keep our eye out on it. Okay. Using social media, like if you guys go back on some of my personal Facebook page, like you'll see posts where I'm like, I have buyers looking for, right? Put it out there, like try to find it. I sold 2 houses over Facebook because I put what my client was looking for and somebody contacted me and said, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. I can't go on the market for whatever reason. And my buyer bought it. Okay, so using that. Community and door knocking, lean into your community. Can't door knock, I don't think right now. I used to love door knocking, big door knocker. I think it's hilarious. People are so weird. Like some people like slam the door in your face and then others will like answer the door with like food on their shirt and they're like, oh, come on in, so weird. But just leaning into that, like, how can I find people to talk to, right? You might not get what you are looking for out of it, but you might get something, you know? My whole thing around it was always like, it's just meeting more people. So they might take my card. They don't know anybody that's looking to sell. And 2 years later, they're like, you know what? That girl, she was funny. She can come back and sell my house, right? And then past clients, obviously I have the luxury of saying that. You guys do not have past clients yet. So maybe it's friends and family and cooperating brokers and agents, right? So lean into that. So for me, I look back at my past clients. Hey, so-and-so sold your house 2 years ago. I have clients that are looking in your neighborhood. Do you know of any neighbors that are looking to sell? Can you let me know? Are you looking to make a move? Because I have a buyer that would be perfect for your house, right? That kind of a thing. Call your friends and family. So-and-so wants to be in this area. Do you know anybody? Cooperating brokers and agents, make friends with the agents, you guys. Make friends with them. It'll make your life easier. I promise you, promise. It's much more enjoyable to work with someone you know and trust. And most of the time you can get more out of it, if you know what I'm saying, okay? So asking those questions when you're writing an offer, you might get an answer that you're looking for, okay? Negotiation and price. So our next piece in setting expectations with our clients. So strengthening your offer. So I'm going to give them the heads up right away. Price, of course, right? Price is important, but it's not everything, okay? So other things that can strengthen your offer, type of financing. So earlier we talked about FHA versus conventional, right? So we're saying if we're able to go conventional, we could be seen as a stronger buyer. That could help us. That could give us a leg up when we're making an offer. Down payment. 20% is better than 5%. I had somebody like argue with me like, well, why? The money's still coming from the same place. I'm like, I don't know, but 20 is better than 5. I know that, okay? This shows you have more liquid funds. You're a stronger buyer, right? So down payment, increasing that, super helpful. Good faith deposit amount. So fail forward. I used to not have this conversation, and then I'd go to write an offer, and then I'd try to get them to put down a decent deposit, and they'd give me all this pushback, right? So having that conversation up front. Okay, you're a seller and you have 2 offers that come in and everything about them is the same, except one person has a $1,000 deposit and one person has a $10,000 deposit. Who's got more skin in the game? 10,000 guy, right? Or girl, whatever, okay? So our $10,000 buyer is gonna be seen as a stronger buyer. So that's how you explain it to your client, right? The bigger your deposit, the stronger your offer looks. Inspections. I'm never going to tell anybody to waive an inspection. However, people are doing it in this market. You have the choice as a consumer if you want to do one or not. If you're unsure, that's okay. We can talk about it when we get to it. I just want you to know that we may be competing against buyers that are waiving inspections. Okay, possession of property. I've had several people over the last few years take a lesser offer because they got the post-possession that they needed, okay? Or I've had a seller accept my offer because I was able to close in 30 days and my client can move that quickly on it. Whereas the other loans that we were up against, they couldn't close for 45 days or 60 days. Okay, so that can be a game changer. And then obviously a sale contingency. Are you contingent or not? That's going to be huge. And then I go into talking about how I protect them, right? So I've talked about how to write your strongest offer. And then my job is to protect you as your agent, okay? So I have to protect your transaction, keep it all nice and tight in a box with a bow. And then I have to protect you on the price side of things. So when we make an offer, we're going to use one, if not both of these documents, okay? So the first one is the first right of refusal. I'm trying to find it on my thing here. So take a photo of your screen, write this down. I think they actually have it in the no folder now, so you can probably find it there too. But say to my buyer, okay, so in New York State, we have to have attorney approvals from your side and the seller's side, okay? Anything can happen in that attorney approval period. It's usually a 2 to 3 day window, okay? They could accept our offer. The next day they get something else that they like better, and they can bump us out. So that's why we include the right of first refusal. So what it says is if you accept our offer and we don't have attorney approvals yet, and you get something else that you like better, you have to come back to us and at least give us the opportunity to play ball. Okay? If the right of first refusal comes into play, the seller does have to show proof of another offer, you know, sufficient documentation to justify any changes in our offer. Okay? I will tell you guys this. Again, fail, huge fail on this one. This used to auto-populate. I use dot loop. So it used to auto-populate and say, buyer shall have the first right of refusal to increase their purchase price of the above stated offer. So I got kicked out because the agent didn't come back to me because it was something in the terms. And they disapproved my contract. Major fail. So when you write this, make sure it says and or adjust terms and conditions of the above stated offer. Okay. And then the second one, I tell them I protect you on the price side of things. So we use what's called, we use what's called an escalation clause. There we go. Okay, this auto-populated, so please use more than $500. We used to use $500. Used to win offers by 500. I can do $501. Now my escalations move in $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 increments just because to a seller in this market, $500 is nothing. Okay, so escalation clause. So this is the best thing we can do aside from just throwing a dart at a dartboard blindfolded. Okay, so let's say the house is listed for 200. I always look at comparables before we write any offers, give you a safe zone. I got to protect you on, you know, price side of things. You know, I don't want you overpaying. I got to protect you on the appraisal side of things because we're getting a mortgage. So I look at comps and I say, you know what, Laura, you can probably go to 230, 240 pretty safely on this one. You're going to live there for a long time. There's not a lot to do to the house. So if you want to compete, like, let's go for it. Okay. So you say, okay, I'm going to go to 235. Okay. So what it's going to look like is we would move in a $3,000 increment in that price point. So I would say, okay, you know, to the seller, we're willing to pay $3,001 over the highest competing offer up to, now she told me she wanted to stop at 235. Guess who stops on 5s and 0s? Everybody. And I'm able to say that because I've won enough offers against agents that stop on 5s and 0s. And I've seen enough offers come in on my listings where agents stop on 5s and 0s. So explain to your buyer up front, we're going to take that 3,000 and we're going to put it on top of your 235. So we're actually going to stop at 238,001. And the reason for that is because a lot of other agents stop at 235. So we're going to go just that little extra step. And now we don't have to worry about the agent coming back to us and saying, oh, I have 2 that are the same. Bring me your highest and best. And then we're still in that same boat of throwing the dartboard or throwing the dart at the dartboard blindfolded. Okay, let's just win it on the first try. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? If any of you ever beat me because of this, I will find you and hurt you. I'm just kidding. Add the escalation on top. Okay. Add the escalation on top. Seller to provide proof of competing purchase offer. Make sure they send you a pre-qual letter or proof of funds with it as well. Okay, so again, you can find this in the no folder. And do not use $500, please. It'll not get you anywhere. Please don't do it. Okay, sorry, we're running over. If you guys got to go, I totally get it. Thank you for hopping on. I'm not going to go through the process right now. There's other classes and you guys can learn that on your own. I put commonly used terms in here, fluffy stuff. It might be helpful, especially for a first-time home buyer. You don't have to explain what escrow means. Helpful contacts. So I know we're supposed to give 3. I actually have to put the third person up there. I just switched these around, but these are my preferred people to work with. They are strategically placed. Okay, so Gage, Tom, I have somebody else. Real estate attorneys, again, strategically placed. I don't know why all the L's are bold. I don't know what's going on with this version. So I let them know, you know, these are the attorneys that I like to work with. They work really well with these 2 loan officers, which means that your transaction could be really smooth if we work this team. You could say, this is my team, right? Other helpful contacts, I let them know, listen, you need an inspector, I got a guy. You need a painter, I got a guy. Pool person, I got a guy. Okay, so if you guys haven't built up that vendor list, do it. Okay, so that you're able to say, you know, I have so-and-so for you. I believe it was Caitlin O'Connor in the launch partner panel where she had said that she was getting so many calls in the beginning for people that knew that she was in real estate. They didn't have anything to buy or sell, but they would call her and say, oh my gosh, whatever just broke in my house. Do you have an appliance guy? Do you have a plumber? Whatever. And she would help them in their time of need. And then all of a sudden she started getting referrals from them, right? So it's just a one step further to tie yourself to real estate. And create a relationship with that vendor, possibly. You know, I've had my inspector refer me people. I mean, that's pretty huge. So go ahead and build that list. And then action items, I have that in there in case there's anything for them to do, like, hey, you got to go talk to mom and dad about borrowing an extra 20,000, you know.
What?
Put your, oh, Laura, you're on. You're not muted. I don't know how to mute her. And then, do you guys have any questions on the packet?
Kaylee, I had one when I was listening in the car. When you were talking about how, like when you work with first-time home buyers and they get all their information from their parents and et cetera, do you have like situations where you have like the parents come in with the, you know, adult children and they are kind of the problem in it? And how, I mean, I'm so far away from that, but I just kind of can see it in my mind. So how
Yep.
do you deal with that? Like, is it a decision that they have to make? Obviously, maybe this person's giving them money, so they feel like they're investing and they're entitled to tell you what to do, even though they didn't sign with you. How does that kind of work out?
Yep. Is anybody else going to be helping you make this decision?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, no. Okay, I'm only asking because like I can't do anything without calling my mom first. Like,
Okay. Right.
woman, right? So, you know, like if mom or dad are going to be like an important part, like you want them to see the house before you
Yeah.
make that decision. Because I get it, it's a huge decision, right? So if their input is going to be important, let's bring them with everything we do.
Okay.
Right? You can ask them that question like right there. Like obviously you want all decision makers there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, are you married or you have a partner or somebody you're, I guess you don't have to say, are you married? But like, is there
Yeah.
anybody else that's going to be making this decision with you? Great. Let's all sit down together, right? Maybe mom and dad can't make it. Okay. So maybe that's where you say, okay, I'm going to give you a hard copy of this buyer packet. And I'm going to send you with a hard copy of all these stats and everything that we talked about today. And you can show this to mom and dad. let them know they can call me, they can text me with any questions they have, and I look forward to seeing them at the first showing.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can let people know too, like, right now it's hard for us to get back in for a second showing on a house. So we might
Yeah.
have one chance to see it, especially if it's in a competitive area and a competitive price point. So it's really important that we have everybody there at the same time, because there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to get back in.
Okay.
You guys, if you followed me around for like a week, you would find that I blame everything on everybody else. Oh, I have to have this on file because of COVID, or we can't do that because of COVID. Like, I have these clients that have these kids and they jump on everything, and I'm like, stop touching stuff. So now I've started telling them, like, oh, they're not allowing children in, so we got to find a sitter.
Yeah.
You know, because it's so uncomfortable and stressful. But yeah, and like you guys, you heard me during the appointment, right? Like, oh, Keller Williams. It's not my fault. It's Keller Williams asking for it. So what do you want me to do about it? Sorry. You know, most people aren't going to question you. So yeah.
Thank you.
Last thing I want to go over with you guys, I'm going to get off the sharing. Okay. Is just questions to ask an agent when you're making an offer. So I'm like a little weasel. Like well, number one, I try to be friends with everybody so that I can get the most amount of information. But number two, like you should be asking these questions so that you're writing the best offer possible. Or like, maybe you know that your buyer's offer is going to absolutely suck. So why would you waste your time or anybody's time doing it? You know what I mean? My poor cousin, he's really nice, but they were contingent and they were competing on a house, and they're like, we want to make a contingent offer and we want to ask for a home inspection and a pool inspection, and we want to go in at asking price. And I was like, yeah. So he already has 2 other offers, so we're not going to do that. So we're not competitive. So, you know, and I've had agents call me on my listings and say, listen, is this going to get it done? Because I'm not going to waste anybody's time writing this if it doesn't make sense. Like, if I'm not even close, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. You know, I never discourage anybody from writing, you know, in terms of like, if it's on my listing, obviously I would like to see those offers. But on the buy side of things, like, you guys should be asking as many questions as possible. So questions to ask the agent, like, what is most important to your sellers? Is it money? Is it closing? Is it possession? Is it stuff in the house? Is it inspections? I guess if the most important thing is that somebody waives an inspection, that would kind of be like a red flag for me. That would be like, oh, why is that the most important? Are you hiding something? But find out what's most important to the sellers, asking the agent those types of things. What are the other offers? Sometimes they'll tell you to fly a kite, but why not ask? You can't, you get in trouble for asking? You can't get in trouble for asking. Okay, you have 3 other offers? Great, what are they? They're like, what did you just ask me? Well, what are the other offers? Is it over 200? Is it over 220? Right?
Is
Okay.
that like a violation for them to disclose what other people have offered for their client, or no?
If their client gives them permission, then they can say, they can tell whatever they want to tell.
Okay.
You know, I always tell my sellers, like, okay, so we're going to be reviewing, you know, as we're heading into delayed negotiations. So we're going to be reviewing offers. People are going to be calling me and asking me questions. Do I have your permission to disclose what I have or give a general idea around what we have in hand?
Okay.
And they make the decision. Truthfully, it's in the seller's best interest to be able to disclose some of that, you know, because then people know, like, am I going to step it up, or like, I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and like, there's times where like I'm more discreet than others, you know, where I'll be like, I have 3 offers in hand and they're strong.
Yeah,
Well, what strong means to me is different than what strong means to somebody else. So like,
right.
somebody tells me they're strong, I'm like, are they over asking? Right? I had a lady, we were preparing to write on a house, and it was like a $700,000 price point. And I asked her, like, what are the other offers? And she said, we have one that's really strong. And I said, well, what does really strong mean? Like, are we talking 20 grand or are we talking like 50 grand at this price point? You know, like, because I know where my client's at and I'm not going to waste anybody's time. And then she's like, we're more than 20. I'm like, okay, thanks. You know, but we didn't end up writing, and the house sold for $100,000 over. So I didn't have to waste anybody's time, including my own. But yeah, just asking like, okay, well, what am I up against? Are they paying cash? Am I up against any cash? I'm FHA. I'm like, how are these conventional offers looking? Oh, they're all conventional. Okay. Is anybody putting down 10%, 20%? I'm a 20% conventional buyer. Like, do I have a shot at this? You know? Okay, well, I can't go to that price, but I can give your people 60 days post-possession. Like, would that get it done? Kind of a thing. Asking them, if I ask for the washer and dryer, is that going to kill it? You know, like, people get so weird about washers and dryers. You guys see stuff, you're like, why are you mad about that? It's washer dryer. But yeah, just asking them like any question in the book, like, and then followed up with like, is there anything else that I should know that's super important to your client? Like, how can I make this a win-win for us? And then when you send over the offer, request a receipt from them. Please confirm receipt of this offer and call or text them. Okay. You guys, it is sad, and some of them have been KW agents, but you know, when we're in a market and there's 20, 30, 40 offers flying around, one of my last listings, I didn't even know that the agent sent over an offer. And I got a call at like 9:30 at night. We reviewed it 2. And they were like, guess I didn't get it. And I was like, I didn't even know you wrote. And it was in my spam folder. I never even saw it. And I was like, why didn't you call me or text me? You know, so make sure you're doing that. Okay. That also shows agents that like you actually care, you know.
Right.
The other thing too, when you guys are, I just lost my train of thought. It was something about writing the offer. Karen will probably go over it. I can't remember now. Sorry. If I think of it, I'll write it down. But Karen will go over writing the offer and everything with you guys. But yeah, just communication. Communication is huge. Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions? No. I'm looking at my notes. I actually, when you guys are setting appointments and viewing homes, like pay attention in the appointment with them. Like when I was talking to Laura, she was, you know, saying this, saying that, da, 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 whatever. Like pay attention to your client and how quickly they make decisions, right? So you might pull up a listing and they're like, nope, 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 right away, right? So you probably know that if you walk into a house and they don't like it, it's going to be quick decision, right? Sometimes you get people like, I talked to this guy, they're coming from Philadelphia, and he spent half an hour of the conversation telling me about his job. And I was like, don't care. Okay, great, moving on. So then I knew any appointment I did with this guy was going to be lengthy. So I knew, okay, if we look at something, it's definitely going to be that whole half-hour time slot. And I also need to leave time after our last appointment because there's a good chance he's going to talk my head off in the driveway. Okay, so paying attention, knowing your client, giving them space to be really honest with you. Like, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this only works if we're totally transparent with each other. Like, you got to tell me, like, I don't like this house. Like, you know, like if you send them a house and you're like, oh my God, I just saw this come up. Like, what do you think of it? Well, maybe we could take a look, like get more information out of them. Also double checking the property information. Like we talked about, like somebody would say, hey, oh my God, I want to see this house. Hey, you told me you didn't want to live on a main road. It's on Ridge Road. Like what are we doing here? Right? You told me you didn't want septic. It's on septic. So double checking all of that property information. And then when you go on the showings, bring the paperwork with you. So I always bring an MLS sheet and the PCD, the property condition disclosure, sorry. If there are other attachments, so like a survey map or maybe like an updates list or something like that, print that stuff out too, okay? Try to review and learn as much about the listing as possible beforehand. I just did this recently. I was like really busy, like crazy busy, came off of vacation. My phone was ringing off the hook and thankfully it was my cousin, but she was like, can we see this house? And I was like, yeah, sure. When do you want to go? Like set the showing up as fast as possible. And we went to go see the house and I walked in this room and the back room was like, had a fireplace and like a whole wall of windows and it overlooked like the gorgeous backyard and like open land. And it took my breath away. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how beautiful this is. Like this is stunning. And she's like, you didn't look at any of the pictures. And I was like, you're right. I didn't, sorry. Like, so that would have been super embarrassing if it wasn't my cousin. So take a quick flip through some of that stuff. Okay. Sorry for going over. Do you guys have any other questions or anything? No?
Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I was wondering, I know these things are somewhat personal, but is there any way you can share your buyer's packet or can we find one that's?
Yep. Obviously you guys can't copy it,
Right.
but you can take tidbits. I'm going to send my email in the chat. Just send me an email and I can send you the buyer packet. If you don't have a buyer packet, let's see. I'm just trying to find this. This might be a really old document. Hold on. Forgive me. Okay. Screen share. Okay. I used to have
Kaylee,
that. Yeah.
I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to tell you maybe like 15 or 20 minutes into this, I realized I was at that graduation panel too. And I absolutely loved you, how much enthusiasm you had for all of your mentees and just how excited you were. I absolutely loved it. And I was like, oh, who is she? I emailed Rick Vista and I was like, who's that mentor? I want to know what her name is. So I've been meaning to email you or get in touch with you. So I just wanted to let you know that that was really great and really amazing to see during that panel.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited for my mentees that I've had the pleasure of working with. They really surprised me and blown me away, and it's been a great experience. So thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah, of course. Well, it really showed. I mean, through it was definitely neat to see. So
yeah, Jay and I have come to grow very, very close, and he's like my guy. Like when I go out of town or whatever, he's probably the only person I trust with my business. So I feel very lucky to have been connected with him. So, but thank you. So before I had a packet, you guys, I had this guideline. Basically says the same stuff. It just, it was helpful to have out. Again, I don't know. There's like, you guys probably noticed, like I jump around from thing to thing, go off on tangents and things like that. So I think just even having something like this can be super helpful to keep you on track, you know, and keep them engaged, you know. So even if you don't have a buyer packet yet, at least you know the flow of your appointment. I always tell my mentees, like, this is more for us than it is for them. Just like I said, to keep us on track and like, okay, now I know what's coming next, you know, like I've done so many buyer consultations over the years and I still use that because I'm like, where am I? Wait, where am I? So I think it's a great tool. Anything you can do to better prepare yourself. And again, just set the expectation with your client or potential client. Decide how you want to run your business and don't sway from that. The more confident you are, the more they will respect you. Okay. Thank you guys so much for hopping on.
Thank
You
you.
made
This was
this
a great
really
class.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you guys.
guys.
And my email's in there. So if you need anything, you can email me. Honestly, I'm terrible with email. So email me to email you back the packet if you want it. But if you need something or have a question, just call me or text me. I'll put that in there too. Because I literally am awful email. So, all right, guys. Thank you. Have a great day. Have a great week. Go sell some houses.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.